language and also
We're back.
history. And then at the time in boarding school,
Come
they
on.
don't let you talk your language and all that. And then I went back in sixth grade, which was in 1976, and I was fortunate enough to um, learn how to write it and read it. So, that was just awesome that happened because, I can read it, write it, and then also made me more proud of the code talkers, and we actually have two uncles that are code talkers.
My son fell off.
So, and we are the second largest tribe in the United States right now. The Cherokees have passed us. But I think they're kind of cheating because there's East Tennessee Cherokees and West Tennessee Cherokees. No, just kidding. And they got more casinos than us too, which I'm jealous. But my brother taught me how to play the Native American flute, and like I said, I'm a guitar player, so he just showed me the basics. And I remember that evening I was learning all these songs, and it's just awesome. And to be, especially here, to meet a lot of these flute players and flute makers, and there's some awesome flute makers out there, and I'm working on making my own flute. So that's a little history. But I'll tell you, my grandmother is on my dad's side in Arizona is the one that gave me my Navajo name. And when you say it, you say Ashkiho Nagahi. That means boy that goes from place to place. Well, she used to just call me Ashkiho Tai because I was always wandering around, or I would be out in the desert drawing pictures or something. Just taking off. It's one of them being curious. But my grandmother was a medicine lady, and I know she really, really wanted me to practice the healing and also the herbal. And being a little kid, I was like, nah. Because I'm not bragging or anything, but Creator gave me an immense amount of talent, that
All right.
I guess you could say I don't like to say she was disappointed. It's just, it was for me, because later on, we end up in a foster home. I end up in a foster home, and my parents were white. I end up in Utah, and so half of my life I was raised by the white man. So I was, it was awesome that I learned both cultures, because as my people, we call it the white man's world, the city world. And it's not being prejudiced or being mean. It's just, their point of view, because my grandparents, they didn't speak English, or they knew little. They just knew all the swear words, No, I'm just kidding. But this first flute I'm going to play you is River Cane flute. This was made by a friend of mine, Danny Begay, and this is River Cane, and Danny's from the Echota Cherokees. And Danny's an awesome guy. He's an awesome flute maker, and he used to be a rock and roll drummer too. And I was admiring this flute, and he says, "Why you like that flute?" I said, "It's crooked. It's got character." So I went back to pay for it, and he just handed it to me. So like my brother always says, it's a Jedi mind trick. This is a River Cane flute. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Yeah, I stayed out here in Tennessee. I fell in love with the mountains out there and the green and the trees, and it's also a better winter than out west. You know, people think, oh yeah, you're out west. You guys get no snow. It's like, oh, baloney, man. Get like about 2 to 3 feet, sometimes 4 feet of snow, and I got tired of it. I shouldn't say hate. I don't like the cold, you know. You know, I had enough of that on the res. Nothing against the res. Don't get me wrong, you know. And even my relatives, you know, they call me city boy. Oh, yeah, I am a city boy, you know, shoot. I lived through that in Salt Lake City with the snow too, so. This next flute I'm gonna play you is, speaking of West, this was made by, shoot. It's made out of ebony wood. And Wood Sound Flutes. He's over there. He's my buddy calls him the Gomali Flutes. Yeah, my brother just yelled it out. Brent Haynes. But Brent made this, man, this thing's heavy too. So it's good to have, you know, in case some redneck decides to get a hold of my neck, you know. Turn around and use it on him. But this is, I fell in love with this flute. I just love the sound of it, and it's so pretty, you know, that sometimes I sit there and shine it for hours, you know. But I hope you enjoy this flute. This is a flute made by Mr. Brent Haynes. Thank you. See how pretty that sound? I've been home out west. When I say out west, I'm talking about the Four Corners area. And I haven't been home in 7 years. Just staying out here doing shows and doing my art. And there's a couple of guys I jam with once in a while. You know, be a kid again, you know. And I also been jamming with this cello player. He's from the 60s guy. He's a 60s guy, and he's a big Jimi Hendrix fan. And what he did to his cello was he put a pickup on it, you know, and he hooked up pedal boards to it. And one day he said, "Hey, check this out," you know. And he kicked that pedal board in. I was was like, oh, dude, that's awesome. He's making all these psychedelic noises out of it. I was like, yeah. He's like, go grab your flute, you know. And so I grabbed my flute and we started jamming. And I think we jammed for about almost 30 minutes. You know, like they used to do, like Grateful Dead and all that they used to do, you know. And, oh, he loved it. And then one day the next time we jammed, he just kept going on his cello, and I was doing the flute, and he goes, go grab your guitar. So I heard and plugged it in, and so we ended up jamming for an hour, close to an hour. He's like, man, we need to keep doing this, you know. And I was teasing him. I said, are you sure you don't have drugs anymore? Because he was so excited, you know. He's like, no, man, it's a natural high. But I thought it was pretty neat, you know, just jamming with this guy from the 60s. And I also love Jimi Hendrix, so. All right, I'm a Hendrix fan. This next flute I'm going to play you is, I bought this 2 years ago. And this is made by Island Flutes. Mr. Ray Woods made this. I don't think he's here this year, but I used to buy flutes from Leonard Crowe. Leonard passed away, and he used to be here every year, and he passed on to the next world. And I fell in love with this flute because it reminded me of back home, you know, the Red Rocks of Arizona and the plateaus of New Mexico. And it just brought me back when I played it. It just made me think about, you know, home. And actually, 7 years ago when I went back, I actually went on top of the plateau of New Mexico in the Four Corners, and I just took my flutes, my stage, and tobacco and said a prayer up there. And, you know, this place I go to, the hawks are always there. And the last time I was there, there's two golden eagles flying around, and it's just awesome. You know, I didn't realize how, you know, it is slow for me out there now, but just to be there and, you know, it just brought me back in the day of maybe how my people were, you know, when they were by themselves and, you know, with their spirituality. But this just reminded me of home, and I hope you like this because this is one of my other favorite flutes too. This is a flute made by Mr. Ray Woods. Thank you. Yeah, I saw some of you yawning out there. Just kidding. You know, that's always what we were taught, you know. A lot of laughter, you know, and back home, you know. Just sometimes we get to the point where, as natives, it can get cruel, you know, but it's all in fun. And I think sometimes don't get me wrong saying this, but, you know, sometimes the white man doesn't understand, you know. It's a native thing. But as an artist, I hitchhiked around New Mexico just to get my artwork in I was trying to get into the galleries. So there are times I had to sleep in the sagebrush because I was stuck somewhere where I could get a ride, you know, and made my way finally to Durango, Colorado. And I busted around the shop there, and then finally I got in the big gallery there. I was with them for about 4 months, and finally they referred me to Santa Fe. So I still had no car, you know, and there were times I had to hitchhike all the way to Santa Fe just to sell my wares. And it's an experience, you know, when you're willing to do what you want to do, you know, as a career. And that's what I've, you know, busted my tail to do. And my mom always encouraged me because my mom was always there, you know, and I lived with my mom till, you know, finally I was making enough money where I had my own little hogan. But you know, that's what the Navajos live in, a hogan. So I had my own hogan, and I was like, yeah, my first apartment. But even at that, I was hardly home because I was always out pushing my work or playing with the guys in the band, you know. And this next flute is made by my friend. I was telling you earlier about Mr. Leonard Crow. And this is a drone flute, and I hope you enjoy this because this is one of the main flutes I play throughout my travels. Thank you. When I was talking about Durango, Colorado, I used to sell my artwork there, and they have those old trains there. And I used to ride from there to Silverton, you know, kind of like my little bit, just to get away from things, you know, get on one of them old trains and ride to Silverton. And I used to always think, you know, like coming out of Durango and going through Silverton, you know, to get to Silverton. I always start thinking about, you know, those cowboy movies, and, you know, you have all these people in the train, all of a sudden either bank robbers or Indians come chasing after him. I was like, man, it would be cool if you see some Indians come chasing us, or some people in masks and robbers, you know. I was like, that'd be awesome, you know, and I should tell them about it, you know, for tourists, you know, that'd be awesome. But it's real neat to be on one of them old trains, you know, just to smell the wood and from the smoke and everything, you know, and brings you back to those old cowboy movies. And it's funny because when we're in the dorm, we're subjected to watching those cowboy movies.
No, here they are.
But the interesting thing was,
Put this back.
you know, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Thunderheart, where that native guy goes, you know, I didn't want to be no Indian. I wanted to be Gary Cooper, you know. But not me, man, in the dorm. I want to be an Indian, man, because I was an Indian, you know. And also interesting, in Arizona, you know, our dad was a bull rider. So in Arizona, a lot of my cousins and relatives there, they wore cowboy hats because they're cowboys, you know. And it's just like, wow. I always wanted to have long hair. And of course, yeah, in the dorm, you know, you have to have your hair cut over your ears, and that's another story. But how much time I got left? Okay, got it. I'm done. This last piece I'm gonna do for you is I want to dedicate to all you rockers out there, and hope you enjoy this. You know, people are serious, you know, about things, you know, yeah, he's a stoic Indian, yeah, he's spiritual, mystic, you know, but you gotta have fun, man, you know, from my part, you know, I love having fun, you know, why be so serious? But even in saying that, you know, let's take care of each other, you know, as Americans, you know, you hear it on the news all the time, you know, there's a division going on, a divide, you know. But hey, you know, let's work it out, because this is our country, it belongs to us. But I ain't gonna get into the political side. But hey, we are Americans. We are here. We're here to stay, and let's take care of each other, you know. Because I'd love to see you guys here again next year, and after that, and you know, and you guys make us keep going, you know, as far as what we do. But I hope you like this. This for all you rockers out there. Thank you. Enjoy the day, man. Visit the vendors. They got some good stuff up there, you know. And me and my brother, we got some good stuff too. So come by, and my brother said we got better stuff. So. And also, I wanted to say, let's give a round of applause to our veterans. Thank you, veterans, for all you do. And also, let's give a round of applause to the police and our firemen and EMTs. And also, we forget the firefighters. We have a lot of fires going on in America, so let's give a round of applause to them too. Because I know even Florida had some forest fires, just down south here. And on that note, like I said, let's take care of each other, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Settle down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the rock star Lord Emo a big round of applause.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting everything together. I record everything on 4 tracks, and I'm put it together now. And then the demo rough. Then I'm gonna go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. That song right there.
You have a car?
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Lowery Begay. I come from the Diné Nation, also known as the Navajo. That song actually was on Jeff Ball's album a few years ago, from Ghost Town. And that song was on the song later. The song itself is called Mr. Sweetgrass. And it's a grass dance song that I had written a few years back. And it's an appreciation to all our dancers that we have out there in the world as we know it. So, like I said, my name is Lowery Begay. I come from the Diné Nation, also known as the Navajo. Yeah. It is great to be here once again here at Musical Echoes to share our music and to share our stories and to share all of what we have behind our culture. And we appreciate each and every one of you for coming out here and sharing this with us. It is quite a hot day, isn't it? You guys burning up yet?
Once we get this done here and everything, I'm going to talk to you about it.
All right. Emerson was talking about giving thanks to all these people, and we appreciate the people and the committee putting this on, and we want to thank them and our extended thanks to them, and we will continue to thank them throughout the day. But I personally want to give thanks to some wonderful people that are here, because when I'm not performing, it's something that I do. I travel throughout the world educating people about the Native American culture throughout song and dance. But when I'm not performing, I'm helping running cases, and I'm helping setting up microphones and setting up these lights. And these guys, they come in 2 or 3 days before any of this is done, and they're pushing cases and setting up these lights and running wires, because you know they're like the Marines, man. They're there before the show, and when everybody leaves, they're still there. You know, so let's give our sound people, these wonderful people, a big round of applause, because they're here throughout the whole weekend. So. They work so they can sleep. I've been working on this album for a number of years, and I finally released it, and it's called "Touching the Sky." And there's not a song in the album called "Touching the Sky" at all. The reason why is because it's a statement that our grandfather used to tell us. Before the sun rises in our culture, Navajo culture, we are told, you know, it's like wake up. It's like our grandfather used to tell us, like, wake up and touch the sky, go run, you know, basically go greet the sun. So, you know, go run to the mesas and, you know, come back, and you do this, you say your prayers, you know, before the sun rises, and that's the way we're taught. So on the album cover, it has the flutes all together, and the sun is on there, because that's the way we were taught. You know, you must greet the sun, you must greet the day each and every day. And so that's what this album is about. This album that I did, my first album, it's about family, and it's about stories. It's actually really a storytelling album, because every song has a story that has to do with my life and my experiences.
Oh, I'm getting worse, man.
So our grandfather and our grandparents were a big part of our lives. So this first song I'm going to play for you is called Canyon Serenity. And I wrote this song because I worked at the Grand Canyon West for a number of years, and I would perform there. And when I would get there, I would watch the sunrise and the sunset. And I was the first one there, and I'd set up my own PA equipment. And sometimes I would be there late in the evening tearing it down. But when I was there was times that I was out there by myself, just me in the canyon. Some of you might go to the South Rim, and how many of you been to the Grand Canyon? Raise your hand. All right. You'll understand what I mean. It's like when you go there, you might see a lot of tourists there. Well, on the West Rim, that is run by the Wallapai Nation, by the Wallapai tribe. So when I would be there, it would just be me in the canyon, just by ourselves. And it's an amazing feeling, because when you look at it, it's like a painting, and it's just beautiful, and it's a great place to be. So when I wrote this song was written in paying respect to the Creator. It's about love, because the Native American flute is about love, and the song is about love, and our appreciation that for the earth that we have, our love for the trees that surround us, our love for the critters that crawl on the earth. Because there'd be mornings I'd go out there and I'd see a lizard run in front of me, or even an antelope. And one day when I was driving, even a bighorn sheep like jumped in front of me, and just like it looked like it was jumping into the canyon. But you know, there's like rims there, so it's just like jump down. And it's just an amazing place. And we were there one morning, and we were walking right by the canyon, and then out of the blue, all we heard was like right next to us. It sounded like a jet just flew out by us, and it was an eagle. It was a golden eagle, and it just flew right by us, and we were just like, oh man, this is what this is. You just kind of have to just, when you're in that moment, you can just have to just look at yourself and just say to yourself, this is about God. You know, this is about earth. This is about power. And that's what strength, and that's what this song about, is our strength and our love for the earth and for the Creator and everything that He has given us. So this is Kenyan Serenity.
I got my chair back there. So I'm going to go take a look around and see what's here. See if I can get into trouble.
Uh-oh.
I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Thank you. When I was a little boy in my growing years, you know, I was really blessed with something that was very beautiful. And it makes my heart soar in a good way, and to know that this whole album that was done was really started by somebody very special in our lives, and that was our grandfather. His name was Chester Begay, but his real name was Jeffet City. And what happened was that when the government came along and they put him in the boarding schools, they asked him his name, and he was quiet. He was very shy, and he couldn't speak because he didn't know what they were saying to him. And they told him that, you know, we're going to give you this name. Your name now is Chester Begay, you know, and that's what they gave him. They named him Chester Begay. So our real name, our real name on our father's side is really Atsidi, which means the silversmith. You know, the silversmith people. That's where we come from. That's where we stem from. And he used to tell us stories. Our grandfather was very active, man. He was really active. He would play football with us when we were kids. And even in his 70s, man, he was a very active man. And he would be like running with the ball. And, you know, you could see Grandpa doing this, you know. And it was really cool, man. And but as a young boy, he was also a grandfather and telling us stories. And I wrote this for him because my grandmother and my grandfather, they had a hogan, and we would stay with them. And the doorways faced to the east, and our grandfather, we would sleep on sheep hides, and our grandmother had her own bed and everything. And you know, the kitchen was kind of like over here was a one-room hogan, you know, with the pot-belly stove in the center and the stovepipe going up. And he would tell us stories, and I remember that, you know, relatives would come by because, you know, this is one of those stories that is true. We had no running water, we had no electricity, so when we lived in the middle of nowhere on the reservation, but when people would come by, every now and then somebody would give him an orange or an apple, you know, because it was something that we didn't see that much. So he would so when somebody would say, like, here's an apple, you know, my grandpa would be like, you know, I was like, yeah, give me that apple, I'll take it. He'd stick it in his pocket. And when in the winter time, it was really cool, but what he would do was, like, at nighttime when it was cold, and then he'd have that apple and he would just hold it, and he would just like look at it, and he'd shine it up and do whatever. But then when the fire was going in the oven, I mean on the stove, on the potbelly stove, he would take that apple and he would put it on top of the stove, and he would slowly turn it a little bit, and he would start telling the stories about our coyote, the trickster, and about how, you know, the turkey, about the turkey, and about us as Navajo people and our long walk. And he would tell these stories, and he would turn this apple. Well, pretty soon the apple would turn brown. It would look like it was bad, you know. It looked like it gone bad. Like when you leave an apple for a while in the sun, it just looks kind of bad, you know, like it's rotten. But what would happen was that the skin of the apple was its natural, basically crock pot, or you could say, or like a pan. And then what he would do is he put this inside a bowl, and then he'd cut it open, and then he would scoop it out, and it became basically like applesauce. And then he put sugar on it, you know, and it depended on, and then he'd continue to tell the story, and we'd eat it that way. And so I wrote the song for him, and it's called Belasana, which means the apple, you know, because for me, when I see an apple, I always think of him. So this is Belasana. Thank you. Grateful for our grandparents. I mean, I'm really blessed to have grown up having both grandparents. And our grandmother actually was really a powerful part of our life. And she actually passed away. And when she passed away, within a year, our grandfather passed away. And I think that's the first time I ever realized what true love was, because our grandfather was really, truly in love with our grandmother, and his heart, I feel, just died because he just was never the same after she passed away. So there is true love out there, people. It's true. So that's what I believe from my grandparents. This next song is a fun song. I have a 25-year-old daughter who has given me like the best gifts in the world, and they're called grandchildren. And I have a granddaughter who is 3 right now, and her name is Claudia Jerry. And I have a grandson who's 6 months old, and his name is Bastian Varro. So isn't that like such a rock star name? So, but I wrote a song for her. And I wrote this song actually when she was little. She used to come to this show years ago. She's 25 now, so she came here in the inception of this musical Echoes. And this song is the relationship that we have with our daughters, our men that we have. I'm blessed. I have the perfect daughter. I always say that because my daughter didn't do anything wrong. She was never in trouble at school. She never did anything wrong. She always like, Dad, can I go do this? And she'd come home on time, and she's never done drugs, she's never done alcohol, and she's, that's her life. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that I got blessed. Now my sons are another story, but my daughter, she's awesome. So my daughter's name is Jay. And when she was growing up, she used to listen to a lot of the music that I listened to. As Emerson was telling you, we do play flute. We are in our culture. We sing our songs, but we're also into rock and roll. We're into heavy metal. So she would listen to all these bands, and I always listened to her. It's like they got to the point to where, as I would buy CDs, they would just disappear, and pretty soon I'd find them in her room, and it was just like, what's the use? I might as well just buy them for her, So this is a rocking song because my daughter was just always like, Dad, 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 da, 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 da. So this is what this kind of song reminds me of. It's this song for all your relationships with your children. This song is called Jaybird. I
was sitting up there in the shade with
Touching the Sky, there's a song The whole album actually is all flute, except for the last song. The last song itself is a song that I wrote for my mom. And my mom has been there for us. She's endured a lot. And in our native culture, our women are in charge, basically. They are we are a matriarchal society, and we have great respect for our mom, because our moms carried us in their womb for 9 months. So whenever my kids, even when they my ex-wife, when they even though we're not together anymore, when they ever speak up to their mom, they try to argue with her. I always tell them, like, hey, we gotta have respect, that's your mom, because that's the way we, as Navajos, we're taught, that we always respect our mom no matter what. They carried us in their womb, and so that the respect. So this song is the song I wrote for her, and it's in respect to all the moms out there. It's called Shema. It's the last song on my album, and it's just actually vocal. I don't even drum on this. I usually drum on this, but I'll just sing it the way it is on the album. And it's the lyrics go is Amata no Shinigi, Tita Bukhaligi, Tita Ijishigi, Behojono, Dole, Shema. Basically, the translation of it is, those of you who are mothers, those of of us that sing and dance, we sing and dance in respect and in praise and in honor of you. Thank you, mothers. Thank you, mothers out there. Thank you so much. That's kind of like the way the translation is of this song. So the song is called Shema.
He's not over there, he's over there. He's at the blue tarp over there.
Amata no shiniki, tita wikadiki, tita ijishiki be, wajona dole, waya wida, agahe shema, ayo, we are heyo,
I'll be right here.
Amata no shiniki, tita witadiki, tita ijishiki, be, wajona dole, waya wida, agahe shema,
You're coming back this right here, or are you going to be somewhere?
Amata no shiniki, tita witadiki, tita ijishiki be, wajona dole, waya wida, agahe shema, ayo, waya widu. Thank you, mothers. So those of you who haven't called your mom, call your mom. All right. I got a real quick story about that. As I was telling these guys about staging, I was working a show, and I was out in Arizona, and you all know who Larry the Cable Guy is, right? Yeah, so we did setting up the stage for him, but basically just setting up the stage for him is just putting a bench out there and a microphone. That's all you do, okay? So that's what we did. So, but he's a great guy, so because afterwards he like shook everybody's hands and said, "Thank you guys for performing, And I had been on the road for a while, you know, doing everything, and he came up and shook all their hands and he's talking to everybody, and he's a great down-to-earth guy, and he goes, "How you doing?" And then he walked up to me, "How's it doing? Your family doing all right? Everything good?" It's like, "Yeah, everything's good." So, "Call your mom." I looked at him, it's like, "What?" He was like, "Call your mom. Don't forget to call your mom." So I was like, "All right." So I went backstage and I called my mom and said, "Mom, Larry Begay told me to call you. I'm sorry I haven't called." So it's cool. This flute actually is a very special flute. It is amazing how much this flute has become a part of my life, because the individual that made this is a big part of my life. This flute right here was actually made by EMERSON Begay, my brother. All right, and he made some flutes, and he made a bunch of river cane flutes, and he had this in the lot, and I looked at it, and the first thing I picked it up, and I started to play it, and I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "Man, I love this flute." And he goes, "Oh man," and we always have this saying to each other. Me and my brothers, we say to each other, "How much you want for it?" It's like, well, this is what we say to each other. And I just picked it up, and I looked at it, and was like, he goes, "You want to buy it?" Is actually what he kind of like what he says. Like, and then I looked at him, and was like, "Hey, remember that money you owe me?" And he was like, "Oh man." He's like, "All right." So he gave me the flute, and I've carried it around with me everywhere. But see, my brothers have been a very influential part of my life, because he was the person that I would look to when it came to music and when it came to art. The person that I am now, artistic-wise, music-wise, and everything, wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for him, you know. And I appreciate him every day for that. And I wrote the song for him because, if I get emotional, forgive me, because he was talking about how he would, his Navajo name, you know, how he would walk far and everything. But when I was a young boy, it was uncommon where we were at. It was not uncommon that you would hitchhike. Emerson hitchhiked everywhere he went. And he didn't tell me this story till later. Well, one time he had all this art. He would go to Santa Fe or to Durango, Colorado, or to all these places, these big cities that were maybe a 2-hour drive away, but he would hitchhike to these places. He hitchhiked to Santa Fe, and when he hitchhiked there, he had all his art, and he sold it. He was selling it, and so he sold it. Well, when he got done selling it, he started to make his journey home. He started to walk home. And as he started to hitchhike home, the sun began to set, and he realized the sun was going to set. He was like, "Man, I got to get home before it gets dark." So he made his money and he put it in his pocket, and he started to make his journey home. Well, he made it to this place called San Cedro. Well, San Cedro is still like about another hour and 15 minutes from our house, and it got dark on him. And he had all his art, and he had all the money in his pocket. San Cedro's in the middle of nowhere, and we were poor. We grew up poor. So, and what happened was that he walked down under a bridge because it got dark, and he built a fire, and he built himself a fire, and he put the rocks in there. And he put the rocks in there so it would get hot. And then he dug the dirt out. And he put the rocks there. And then he put sand back over there. And then he slept on it that night. But in order to keep warm, he also exercised, you know, like doing jumping jacks like we were taught in boarding school. And he slept there that night along with his art. And it was like, wow, you know. And so in the morning when he woke up, he did this too. And so when he woke up, he walked out of from under the bridge, you know, and then he hitchhiked home. So when he got home, I remember he was just exhausted, but I remember he had all this money in his pocket, and he just like pretty much like we always do, he took it out and he gave it to Mom what he could and kept some money for himself. And he said
later on, he said to me, he's like, bro, you know what? I didn't realize it then, he said, but I realize it now, years later. He said, I could have got a hotel. I could have stayed in Santa Fe, and I could have got a hotel, but we weren't raised in thinking the way we were raised to just survive. And, you know, he said, looking back, I could have stayed in a hotel, be safe, but that's the way. But I always imagine what he went through in order to that, because he told me this story years later. And so I wrote this song for him with this flute, because it was a powerful story. And like I said, my brother's a big part of my life, and he's taught me so much about art and the journey that we both have gone through, and he's always supported me in everything that I do, and I always support him in everything that he does. And so I wrote this song. It's called Artistic Cold, because, you know, he's an artist, and I'm thinking about the cold journey that he went to get, you know, so he could bring money home to the family, so that way we could buy groceries, you know. And that's paying homage and respect for him with this song. But so, you know, love your brothers, love your sisters, and the song is dedicated to EMERSON Begay, Artistic Cold. And a little bit about the song is like, this song actually, I imagined the birds coming in while he was sleeping in the morning, and the birds are flying through, and they're flying under the bridge, and they come through, and they're singing, and what they're saying, they're saying, Emerson, it's time to wake up. They're saying, Emerson, it's time to wake up. And then at the very end, when you hear the music, it's where the birds are flying off, and they're speaking back the bird language. But this is where the birds are singing, and they're singing and telling him, you know, that it's time to come out of the dream world and time to come back to reality. Thank you. Do we got any newlyweds out there? Anybody get married? Come on up here. Yes, come on. Come on up here. Seriously. Come here. Don't be shy. Come here, both of you. Come on. We got some newlyweds here. As they make their way down, The Native American flute is about love. It's my father always taught me that it's about courting. And congratulations to this wonderful couple. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm giving you one of my CDs as a congratulations and saying happy. May you spend many years together and continue to love and appreciate and respect to each other. Thank you. Here you go. What's your names? Joe and Renee. Let's give Joe and Renee a big round of applause in their marriage. Thank you. Military? Yes, and they're military too. Let's give our veterans a big round of applause. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you. So my name is Lowery Begay. My album is available over there. Come see us. Come stop by and say hi. And like I said, my whole album is actually a storytelling album. And thank you once again. And take care. And as my brother always says, God bless America.
Lowery Begay, give it up. You have been Lowery-tized. Yeah, Lowery's tent is right up here next to the main tent with the blue top. Well, we're going to get things